All right. I call to order this afternoon's meeting of the Darling County Planning Commission. I ask that everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice. Our next item on the agenda for this afternoon is citizens' comments. And it's like we've got several people would like to be heard from this afternoon. First on my list, Ms. Barbara Arthur.
Because of excessive hyperactivity and other reasons, I had my son tested for heavy metals. The lab work came up with an excessive critical amount of aluminum, cadmium, lead, mercury, tin, and uranium, among other heavy metals. We had our paint, our water, and my son's toys tested. Everything came back normal. I live at Crestwood, very close to Sunoco, and it was determined that our son was a victim of toxic environmental exposure. I love my son, like I'm sure you love your children and your children's children. And your children are not immune to these toxins. Looking in specifically to Pit Stop Solar, which is supposed to take up 845 acres, God forbid. Each acre will have approximately 1,000 to 1,500 solar panels. That's a minimum of 845 solar panels. Each panel consists of half an ounce of lead. That's 26,406 pounds of lead in that small 845 acres. Each panel will consist of a 1/4 ounce of cadmium, which is a whopping 13,203 pounds of cadmium in that 814 acres. Recent history has taught us that these panels are easily damaged by hail and other factors, and that they are neglected. And then they will leach these toxins of lead, cadmium, and other toxins into our soils and water streams. Your children are not immune. China said that we will be destroyed from within. If you continue to recommend that these solar panels proceed, you are doing the work of our enemies. Please do not allow this to continue. Thank you.
Amy Knight.
In the absence of a board of zoning appeals in Darlington County, we thank the Planning Commission for reviewing our appeal of the Pit Stop Solar project. It is our assertion that the mandatory ordinance requirements have not been met and that state laws have been violated in regards to this project. South Carolina state law makes it clear that the Planning Commission's role is not to simply sign off on projects presented by the County Council, but instead to ensure that economic development projects are safe for the public and integrate harmoniously with the existing community. There is no evidence that the Pit Stop Solar project has ever been presented in an official capacity to the Planning Commission. In fact, Paula Newton confirmed that the County Council doesn't routinely involve the Planning Commission with renewable energy projects, which is a clear violation of state law. State law also prescribes that no land development will be approved unless it can be used safely without danger from flood or other menaces to health, safety, or public welfare. We have evidence that the project is indeed a menace to the health, safety, and public welfare of Darlington citizens. We assert that the application was not complete and lacked important information regarding hazardous materials and safety protocols for first responders. And we are concerned that known conflicts of interest between members of County Council and the landowners in the Pit Stop Solar project should render these contracts voidable according to our county ordinances. Failure to follow state law in regards to oversight by the Planning Commission has allowed conflicts of interest to go unchecked. and prevented proper oversight of economic development in this county. To remedy our concerns, we're asking the Planning Commission to advise County Council to disapprove all permit applications for Pit Stop Solar, recommend new ordinances that suspend or revoke all ordinances pertaining to Pit Stop Solar, and issue a countywide moratorium on all renewable energy development projects until proper checks and balances can be put in place and these issues can be resolved. Thank you.
Miss Margie Dudley.
Thank you for hearing us. I didn't even plan to speak today, but I brought one of my tenants with me, Bernice Brand. She's been with me almost 20 years, just a couple of months short of 20 years. And I won't be here to see it. I'm 81, but it will happen. She's got small grandchildren and eventually she'll have great grandchildren. It's coming to her house to play in the dirt. I'm directly across the road and this stuff's going to leach into my land. And I would just ask you to take under consideration the people that's going to be affected by it. They're good tenants, they're good people, and they don't deserve to have something put in their neighborhood of this nature. And I just appreciate you taking consideration.
Kelly Jones.
Good afternoon again. I thank you for hearing anything we have to say, because at this point we feel very unheard. Being born and raised here my entire life, actually on the community road of Branham's Airport Road where a lot of these are going, which is separated by an airport. The land belonged to my grandfather for many years. I am a product of exposure from back there. The chemicals that were dumped for years by the airport back there, you can't go down that road and there's not a home there that someone hasn't died from cancer. My brother and I both have very rare diseases from exposure. I was a child back then. I had no part in it. I had no choice. We were exposed. And many years ago, you didn't know what these chemicals were going to do. The difference today is we have education. We have proof of what's going on with these solar farms. We have proof of what these chemicals do. My grandbaby's sitting here. I don't want the life for him that I live every day. The health problems that I struggle with every day. My sister died at 57 years old with cancer. My grandparents both died with cancer. To watch your family die one after another with cancer from exposure, it's not fair. And in this situation, when you can put a stop to this and go back and look at this again and say, hey, wait a minute, we've got families here. This isn't just farmland that we're throwing away that in 40 years will never be able to be planted again because of the chemicals in the dirt. These are people, these are human lives that you're affecting every single day. And it's going to be for generations to come. Like my mother said, she's 81 years old. No, she won't be here when the fallout from this happens. But I will, and he will. And so what I beg you today is put the dollar signs down. Look at this from a perspective of human beings and how you're affecting our lives, because I still live back there. I have a seizure disorder that they tell me these panels emit a noise that may cause me and my nephew to start having seizures uncontrollably. So what am I to do? Sell my home and move? These are things that, as a planning commission, I think it's owed to us in this county. We deserve better than what we're fixing to get handed. I ask every one of you to consider, would you want your family members to live in this, be beside it, and this leach into your drinking water that you cannot prevent? Thank you.
Evelyn Hobson.
First off, I'd like to say that it's really important because we all know that solar farms has fires. We all know that. We also know that in Darlington County, the topography is very flat and is very is subject to hailstorms and storms. And we have storms coming up like Helene a couple of years ago from the Florida Basin. We have them coming in from the coast. So we're subject to a lot of power damage from the weather. And that being said, they damage solar panels. Solar panels also leach those horrible, horrible chemicals into the ground. And the area that they're talking about putting it in, it already has a flooding problem that's had it for years. Darlington County has, and the neighbors there have fought the flooding that we've had. I had hoped to bring pictures today, but they couldn't get turned out in time to show the complete front yards covered in water from the water that comes off of that property that you're planning to make worse by putting solar panels on it. And it's going to leach those horrible cancer-causing agents and chemicals onto the properties of innocent people around that. And, you know, education goes a long way, but I want to read to you something really quickly so that you can say that you did hear it. And that is that, number one, solar farm fires do happen. Solar panels can contain lead, cadmium, and PFAS. Pit Stop Solar Project is within 50 feet, that's the distance of this room, of residential home property lines. Guys, do you understand, does anyone understand what that's going to do to these families and these children? Okay, this is from the VA Public Health, and I'll be glad to give you a copy of it. That says there is no established direct formula to determine how long a person will live after inhaling smoke from a solar farm fire containing PFAS, lead, and cadmium, as survival depends upon factors like dosage, duration, exposure, and individual health rather than a fixed timeline. Acute effects, the people that live close by. Cadmium, breathing high levels of cadmium can immediately cause flu-like symptoms, chills, fever, muscle pain, and in severe cases, close proximity now, remember 50 feet, this room, or maybe less than this room, cause severe lung damage, pulmonary edema, fluid in the lungs, and death within 24 to 72 hours. Did everyone hear that? Everyone hear that? Okay. Lead, acute high levels inhalation can lead to severe gastrointestinal issues and damage to central nervous systems. Those are the seizures she's talking about over here, she just spoke of, that are real. Smoke exposure, general smoke inhalation can cause immediate respiratory distress, heart issues, and immune system disruption. Now that's from the VA Public Health government issues. This is from the Science Daily. Long-term health risks. The primary concern from these substances is long-term chronic health damage due to their persistent nature in the body. PFAS. These are linked to increased risk of kidney and testicular cancers, liver damage, thyroid disease, and immune system dysfunction. PFAS can take years to be eliminated from the body. It's called a forever chemical, forever. Cadmium, known to accumulate in the kidneys and bones with biological half-life of over 10 years, leading to chronic kidney dysfunction and failure. Anyone want to experience these issues? Lead accumulates in bones and affects the nervous system, kidneys, and reproductive systems. That's when we have children and babies that are born with defects. This is from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, again, a government-issued document that says this is how we can mitigate it. We can assume we can get prompt medical attention. Well, in some cases, you can't see what you breathe, so you don't need to get medical attention. Removal from the contaminated environment. Well, you know what? We can't move. These neighbors can't move. It's their homes. And Darlington County decision-making officials are forcing it on them and putting it in their front yard and their backyard. Would you like it in yours? I don't think so. I don't think there's anybody here that would like it in theirs. And I don't think there's a Darlington County citizen that would like it in theirs either. Oh, and this is really helpful too. This is the last mitigation option that they offer. Where appropriate, use of protective gear like self-contained breathing apparatus. So we're going to give a self-contained breathing apparatus to all of our children so they can play in the yard. I don't think you'd want that for your children or your grandchildren. So you need to think twice before you vote this through, because there's so many issues at hand that are affecting Darlington County citizens. And then my next question is, who's going to be responsible? Darlington County? The individuals that voted yes? I would urge you to vote no and put this to bed and protect the citizens that you were put in place to protect. Thank you.
Amy Knight. You're on here twice. Brad Knight. And make sure you heard it.
I'll start out by reading the Darlington County Planning Commission mission statement. The mission of the Darlington County Planning Department is to promote the public health, safety, and welfare through ensuring that the county has adopted development standards, ordinances, and policies, as well as state and federal regulations followed equally by all those planning new development on their land. Our goal is to assist the community, elected and appointed officials, builders and developers, and all others to create an atmosphere of cooperation and participation, continued development, and lasting growth for the betterment of Darlington County. Well, we're going to discuss our appeal, but my wife has already done a really good job at doing that with all the state laws that have been overlooked and just neglected. And that's all in our appeal. You can read that. I don't have to read it. The Emergency Planning and Citizens' Right to Know Act. The Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, authorized by Title III of the Superfund Amendments and Reauthorization Act, was passed in 1986 in response to concerns regarding the environmental and safety hazards posed by the storage and handling of toxic chemicals. These concerns were triggered by a 1984 disaster in India caused by an accidental release of, and I can't pronounce those chemicals. The release killed or severely injured more than 2,000 people. To reduce the likelihood of such a disaster in the United States, Congress imposed requirements for federal, state, and local governments, tribes, and industry. These requirements covered emergency planning, community right to know, reporting on hazardous and toxic chemicals. The community right to know provisions help increase the public's knowledge and access to the information on chemicals at individual facilities, their uses, and releases into their environment. States and communities working with facilities can use this information to improve chemical safety and protect public health and the environment. Now, several people have already quoted the CAD and PFAS and cadmium. I'm gonna give you my numbers. I didn't do it by acre. I did it per megawatt. And Pit Stop Solar is claiming to be 74.99 megawatts. I'm gonna call it 75. It takes 2,000 to 4,000 panels per megawatt. 75 megawatts times 3,000, I just went with the middle number, is 225,000 panels. According to all searches and information given primarily through etusa.org, which is a nonprofit environmental group, tells me that there's approximately 33 pounds per panel of lead. Multiply that times 225,000, that's 7,425,000 pounds of lead in an 840 or 75 megawatt facility. Cadmium, 48.5 pounds per panel times 225,000 panels is 10,912,500 pounds of cadmium on this site. Now, solar companies could tell you, but they don't leach. A working solar panel does not leach these chemicals. We're not talking about working solar panels. We're talking about if a disaster hits, like a hailstorm, which we're probably due for since we hadn't had one in a while, hurricanes, fires, everything else. They do leach. How else will we know that information if they didn't? Given these numbers, at the time of application for Pit Stop Solar, we were told that they had to have everything in place or county council would not approve it. One of those things were the UL listings and or MSDS sheets for the panels and a panel count. We have yet to get that information, which means that our emergency planning committee and officials have yet to get it too. It also says that that stuff has to be provided before approving the application. So how are we even sitting here now moving forward when we still don't have that information? Ms. Newton asked by several persons, including ETUSA, the environmental group that's been working with us, that on the application, it says to be determined. That we won't know that until they actually put it in. That's in direct violation of the application process for Darlington County. Does the planning commission know that? Have they been told that? Because we were told that. I would like to propose that we have a countywide moratorium until the planning commission can actually know what's going on. Until we can actually do some real research to find out what you're bringing into our county, what you're going to poison our community with. Because if it didn't happen, you wouldn't be able to find cases of it. Thank you.
Items. Afternoon, personal appearances. Do we have any personal appearances? Item 5 is approval of the minutes from our January 21st meeting. Do I have a motion in that regard?
That's a move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the agenda for this afternoon's meeting. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, communication tower approval, there's none. Item 8, preliminary approval, there's none. 9, final approvals, there's none. Item 10, approval of subdivisions along public access, there's none. Item 11, variance requests, there's none. Item 12, site development, there's none. Item 13, old business, there's none. Item 14, which I think we'll hear about today, is business is made in reference to the Pit Stop Solar Energy System. I think I can say, but certainly this is the biggest turnout we've ever had for our planning commission meeting. I appreciate everybody coming out and being heard. And as a commission, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I can sympathize with y'all's position, understanding that our goal at this point is to determine if the planning commission staff followed the rules and regulations that are already set in place.
What's your thought? What your guidelines?
Wait, I want.
Yeah, is it, sir?
Who heard our appeal? Because we have no appeal board in Darlington County.
That's what this is. This is,
No, this is the planning commission.
I thought this was appealing, y'all appealing there. I'm feeling there to see. With respect to the planning commission staff, I have gone through and I've read everybody's concerns and appeals. And we don't, as a commission, we don't approve or disapprove these projects. This thing was already done. We just make sure that these ordinances, which were in place,
Can you stop?
are followed.
Can you stop?
I don't think we have the authority to do
Can you
that.
not stop it? When you can stop me from pouring a foundation on my wrong, you can stop me from putting a building up. You can't stop something.
If you comply with the rules and regulations, I don't think we can stop you either. I mean,
Kevin, that they haven't,
Feel like you can't.
over and over again, the ordinances have not been met.
Not the net.
Just gave you examples.
And I'm gonna interject. We as a planning commission are not here to debate all you people. I am really proud you came out and expressed your dissatisfaction with the solar panels going in your neighborhood. But we are not going to debate with you on every item there. Our job is to make sure that Darlington County followed the ordinances that were in place when they came.
Did not.
They did.
We have looked over all the appeals here, and I can't speak for Chad or anybody else, but I've read them all. And I've gone back and looked at what the staff has done. And I can't find where they didn't follow an ordinance.
How can you not find it? We just told you how they not following the ordinance.
The lawyer draw over document.
I've read it.
You can sit up there and say, we didn't know. We're telling you they did.
Are our taxes gonna change where they put these at?
We're not the tax body. And I'm going to go back what I said. We're not going to debate, or I'm not going to debate with y'all on every item that you have. I mean, that's not our part.
You can repeal it's been done for pit stop solar and make them redo it.
We cannot.
Sure you can.
The ordinance that were in place when it was appealed is what has to be followed.
And they
You
did it.
just said that your job is to make sure they follow the ordinances. We're telling you, they did not follow the ordinance.
So make sure.
So that means your job is to make them follow the ordinances. Am I wrong? That's what you did.
all right. From staff, we have a checklist here that they presented us that says everything's been checked off, and that it's been completed and the requirements have been met. I'd like to hear from staff.
Yes, sir. And that was the information y'all reviewed, everybody reviewed, and it was also presented at the public hearing to be reviewed.
The hazardous materials list was at the public hearing.
Staff not going to answer that question, Mr. Chairman. This has have been followed to a T. I assure you, been reviewed by multiple people.
Who's gonna clean them up?
Follow to a T, but when we got our.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for you to bring the meeting back to order.
Yes, sir. All right. We got to have order. This really isn't an open debate.
It's not a debate.
We didn't come to debate anymore.
Not at all.
We came because we wanted to be treated fairly,
I understand.
not been treated fairly in the situation. We probably in this little section here, you got a couple of $100,000 people pay taxes by 15. But that's one. We deserve to be heard, just like the two people that you're dealing with. I feel like that we have not been heard, that we have explained to you what's going on, but you don't hear us.
Ma'am, we have heard you. Unfortunately, you might not like the results of everything, but you have been heard.
Right.
I don't have evidence. I don't have showing that that's not been followed.
That is in fact part of the application.
Anyway, like
Here's a
that,
copy of it.
understanding if y'all don't like the ordinance, and
It's not the
We're
order.
That's
putting
different.
The truth out to you right here before. You can't say that it's not true.
And the law says disapprove, so disapproving is an option. That's what state law says. Can I bring it to you? Can we adjourn and let Lisa go?
It's my understanding again
State law and what your authority is.
that our job as a commission is to make sure they follow the rules.
We're telling you they did not.
We've proven they did not.
They've got evidence that they did. So this is,
Doesn't make it true.
Do you have proof
Prove
of
they
it?
did not.
We have proof they did.
all right.
Can you prove that they did?
Prove they did.
Prove that they did, and then it says,
Sitting back there telling them to stand up and prove it.
prove it.
All right.
It is in the packet, in the
Tell them to show you
packet that
that
you
it's filled out.
presented.
It's not.
It's in the packet now, but was it in the packet at the time of application?
No, it's not.
It's in the packet.
It's not.
They must not be supposed to go back.
We shouldn't tell them to appeal.
Do it.
They not.
We just-
Shouldn't tell them to appeal. They can appeal to.
Yeah.
It's not complete, period.
And here it is.
All they had to do, they had 17 months that we had no knowledge of this project. They had 17 months to get that application complete before it went up on your desk or before we did our FOIA. And they didn't.
And here it
It
is.
was approved 17 months before we knew. We found out 96 days ago.
Your mission is supposed to protect Darlington County. How are you protecting our land and our county by allowing solar panels that can hurt us? How are you doing, how are you fulfilling your mission?
Lawmakers not following.
Making sure the ordinances are followed.
They don't.
Then prove it, prove it, prove it, prove it that it was followed, and then we will be satisfied. Please prove it.
Okay.
The burden's on you.
Has the ordinance been followed?
Now that he's saying
The
it,
ordinance been followed?
Yes, sir.
Search, yes, I did defend.
it's followed, not they're saying that it was followed.
Patients still.
That's the-
I've got the documentation and a checklist that shows everything that was checked off.
One of my vehicles just came back without an air filter in it. Checklists don't mean anything.
Anyway, I promise I sympathize with, but I don't think there's anything we can do to please at this stage, okay?
Promise doesn't mean anything to me, sir. I want you to follow the law.
The evidence, we need the evidence that it was followed, please.
Right.
Without evidence, there's nothing.
Why is no one?
We need the evidence, please.
So,
How about the other council members? Y'all have any input on it?
anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments?
Here's evidence that it was not followed.
Right, we want the evidence that it was followed, please.
Like, no, it should be simple.
I mean, sir,
It's
multiple
real.
people have just told you that how it's not followed it. And you have ability to show us exactly how it's
Right.
followed and you're not doing it. I mean, it's so simple. You could shoot it down right now.
16. Huh? 15.
He got more
He
stuff than
understands it. He understands what we're saying and you guys don't.
He understands it.
It'll take them. I can pull up any information in the world, something on my pocket, or in my pocket right now. They can pull that information up and show it. 15 seconds.
It bothers
It's in a
me.
database somewhere.
It bothers me greatly that my great grandson's up there. If you realize a nasty county we live in, it does not consider its people. And that's all I can say. You wonder why young people are so disappointed with government. And this is it.
Doesn't have to be a yes or no.
Yes, you do.
So, stand up and do this.
Oh, I can't hear you. What was that?
It doesn't have to be a yes or no today, or do you have the power to hold off on the final vote to a later time? Y'all, everybody look at, that's what we have for, it's time for everybody to take a second to make sure.
Provide the evidence.
Give us 60 days. You deserve that time. You understand the scope of what your authority is. We want you to operate for this project and everyone after this one. With full knowledge of what your authority is, so if you aren't told what to do and you actually get to do what you've been called to do.
By the state.
For us and everybody else.
Lou was easy. It was right.
We are. This has not been easy for us.
We'll keep that.
Um, we don't write the ordinance. We don't make the ordinance. We've made some suggestions to try to help people and
The other
to incorporate it.
You can't do anything. Put us to the other committee, meet with them. Let us explain where we're coming from. Give us 90 days, us to meet with them and same thing to them and let them present what they have.
They never notified us that they were gonna pay taxes on 8 properties up there, and not one notice did I get before approved by the council, not one.
No,
Not eight,
there's no-
not
you
one.
Still don't even know.
We were notified after it had been approved by county council. It was done in the nighttime, basically, under shadows and spearheaded by county officials. They didn't want us to know. We have a letter that was sent by the solar farm company to tell us about it months before they approved it. And they didn't, and it was sent to Darlington County, and they didn't even send it to us. We've been so in the dark, and they approved it. You should be ashamed of your county officials that did that. I am.
And puts y'all in the.
And puts you in a bad position.
That's the thing.
Here's a notification from the solar company to notify us that was sent to the county that we never received
Months.
before.
in July, 5 months before we were notified.
And that
And they conveniently took half the information off of this and sent it to us 5 months later.
17 months after they went through the 3 readings on it that we never knew about because we got no notification.
We've got county officials that are getting bonuses by bringing them to you. And we all know who that is. So, this needs to stop because it's going to turn Darlington County into the armpit of the southeast. We already have 17 approved solar farms, and there's 17 more that is in various stages of approval that represents over 10,000 acres of Darlington County farmland that we're going to lose forever. In time, the Bible speaks of famine and drought. Well, guess what? We're not going to be able to feed ourselves in Darlington County because of underhanded nighttime business dealings being done by our county officials.
I understand. I do understand, and I do
Go
sympathize.
back to the people that made the first decision
Absolutely.
because they did it incorrectly.
You can't help us. They're the one that made the decision.
They
Send us
approved
back to them.
something without a full knowledge of the information. There's the application
Recommend that they repeal the ordinances.
because it wasn't complete.
All of them. And let's start it over. Start it over. And follow the ordinances.
Y'all had all the information, staff, if y'all had all the information that was necessary in this thing.
Would you like the copy of the application?
All the information.
For the proper notices sent out timely,
Yes, sir.
required by the ordinance.
Never got,
By our ordinance.
It's all documented.
they did, county council did not.
That is embarrassing.
You know what's sad is we're sitting here begging y'all to help us.
Follow your
And
rules.
Sumter is hired the best attorney they could find in the United States to fight for their county to stop these solar panels from coming in. The county's doing it. And we're begging you to help us. And you work for us, basically. You are our county.
You don't care.
These people back here that keep telling you these answers, if this was true, they would have the number of solar panels that were coming. They'd have the manufacturer numbers on them. None of that information is there.
And if it is, get them to give it to you.
I mean, I don't
That's so easy.
understand. It's a simple process, but yet we're pleading and begging with you when Sumter is spending the money to protect their people. That's the crying shame.
They have put y'all in a terrible situation. They put us in a terrible situation. We're in the same boat. None of us want to be. And really, if you can at least put a pause on this conversation until you do know your authority and you really can, with boldness and confidence, do what the state law says to do, not just what the people in the back of the room say to do. Then you can
It's not the people in the back of the room, it's our ordinance, it's,
correct.
we're charged with making sure it was met.
And they did not follow the ordinance. The information was not there at the time of application, which means the application to move forward is null and void.
Right.
Evidence
They-
needs
And don't show me a document that's got today's date on it. Show me a document from the time of application where they had the UL listing or the hazardous chemicals notifications on the panels and show me that it was given to emergency planning, fire department, the EMS, the hospital systems, to let them know what to look for in case of an exposure.
That's a defect problem.
That's federal law.
Right.
And if you can't show me they had that at the time of application,
Or
then
approval.
you can't approve this.
They should never have approved it. It should have never got to you. They kick the can to you.
The question is the contents of solar panels, all solar panels. It's not, or do we want a solar farm today? The question is, at the end of life for each solar panel, whether it's 5 years, whether it's broken in transit, 15 years, 30 years from now, it's not, was it even a solar farm? The question is, do you want a hazardous materials waste site on the land that you're talking about? On this land? That's the question. It's not really a solar farm. It's at the end of life of these solar panels, the land will be a stand-in place hazardous waste dump site. It's on the US EPA website. That's not from what I say. It's US EPA. And that document, you can pull it up on your phone right now.
Talking about the money, I'm talking about the tax value, and the only reason I'm here because of that, but if your property butts up with where one of these properties are, Darling County, shouldn't Darling County notify the landowner about his changes in tax status and that kind of stuff? I'm sure it's gonna be thrown in my taxes. This is Darling County been ripping off for years. Everything I got to pay for, but I'm still paying. And my house gonna still pay taxes on a piece of property that devalues so much because you walk out the door and there's a solar panel there for. And is Darling County gonna change that? I can tell you this, being a former employee of the power company, Franklin, I've been with them 42 years. Look, your light bill's not going down. This is not gonna affect nothing on your light bill. And I know for a fact, when they put them around people, it makes a liberal feel good when they ride by. That's all a solar panel does. There's no way to store it. It actually causes the power company more trouble than they're worth. The only people making anything off of it is the landowner. And he ain't worried about it. He's gonna be dead in 28 years. He just let Darling County be paying taxes. You pay more tax to have it cleaned up for Darling County. Second of all, is the kickback. Somebody's getting the kickback from it. What good is it gonna do in the county? It's doing nothing. What good is it gonna do? Just an eyesore. And that's my take on it. But I say this, if they put them near my house, y'all can come get the house. I ain't paying no more taxes. I already pay about Wazoo anyway, and my land's devalued. What good is it to Darling County?
Not fun.
What's Darling County getting out of it?
It's our biggest.
People work.
Not coming to get his house. I thought that was funny.
No looking under the gavel like he was doing earlier.
Y'all already killing us on boat taxes. I know it's coming now. I reckon you're gonna kill us on the land with the solar cell
I don't have anything to do with any of that. Okay.
Yes, you do.
You work for Darling County. Yeah, you do.
No.
Not directly, but this is.
Chairman, I move that our responsibility is to make sure these ordinance here are followed.
That provide the evidence and that you provide the evidence. You cannot proceed unless you.
Ma'am, I have warned you, I am not going to debate every one of you on this. You know our responsibility.
And you're not,
Please show us respect that we deserve.
you're not showing us respect.
I am.
You're showing us.
I'm not raising my voice at you. And I'm trying to bring a conclusion to this, that our job is to make sure these ordinances are followed.
They were not.
And based on my research, I moved that they were followed and we proceed.
Have I?
They were not.
We're showing you the proof.
That's what Black said it was done.
We're showing you the proof.
I want to show you, I want to give you this so you'll have a copy. That shows that what he's saying, what they're saying is a lie.
What's the application?
That's the application. When it was approved, that was the application they had on files. So it was not calling you. Well, you got it in your sheet here. I'll give this to you. It says for UL has to be listed and followed. It's highlighted in yellow, was not done. Prove it.
Right.
County administrator can say it was done, it was not.
So was that.
Solar company had already sent them
The county knows that.
approximately 6 months before we even made it.
Susan, you,
So how did they know what we were gonna appeal? They've had 10 years to study, try to push this through.
and do it
And
right.
it only took us 2 months to find where you're breaking state laws and federal laws. And you're telling me you don't have the evidence. Have you researched it other than just looking at the papers they handed you?
It's in front of me.
Look at the papers y'all handed me.
I put the tip on there that clearly state that was not followed.
If you're waiting for them to tell you that they didn't do it, they're not gonna tell you that. We're showing you
I
that.
mean, I've looked at the documentation and according to my research, it appears that they have followed all these regulations.
You get to us, John. Can you show us the evidence? Can we see the evidence that it was done?
That should be available.
That's
Well,
all
have them provide it. That's why not.
Again, well,
I just gave you the evidence that it was not done properly.
Then what's the evidence that was? That's all we ask for is the
This
evidence.
is not a question whether they have the information now. It's a question that they have it at the application,
And when
at
they
the point of
approved it,
application,
they did not.
which is by the ordinance, they were supposed to.
And they still.
Of course, they're gonna give it to you now.
After the fact.
They're not giving anything.
It needs to be tabled until you can get the facts for sure.
How long has this process been going on?
Which process are you talking about? The
This,
kilo process or
that's sort
the
of
page process?
this whole,
Started their application. What's the date on the application? What's the first date?
It was given in 2020.
And when will we know?
May 1st of 2024 is when they initiated their application process.
When will we be notified in 2025?
I'm only speaking to you.
17 months later,
After it
after
was
they approved it
approved.
with 3 hearings that we didn't know about.
Can't approve something you don't have, and you don't have, that application is not complete. Clearly, it's black and white. They didn't follow the order. They didn't have. it.
And they put it on your doorstep. This is unfair.
So it needs to go back to them, the process.
That's what I think. I think it needs to be reversed. You go back.
Issue an
Started out
actual
with-
public notice. Give us an actual time frame to show up.
when was the balance of this information provided?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Chairman.
On this initial application, it has a couple of things on here that says to be determined or number of panels. So when was that?
Whenever they finish their application. They can start an application and take whatever time they need to get all the information in.
Okay.
Once all the information is received,
But this wasn't the final application. This was just the initial.
no,
So it's final. That's what you gave us. That's what we paid $600 for.
ma'am,
Wait.
received the entire packet that y'all received as well in the, now that information was in there because it was part of the initial application.
Here's the year from July.
We asked your department head person 2.5 weeks ago, how many panels were going on that property? And she said, we will not know until, probably won't be know until they drive up with the truck.
And unload them.
You know something you don't, then please tell us.
Telling the truth. If that's the case, then we were told by your staff.
That a completed application does not exist.
But it's not in it.
In the ordinance.
17
Yes.
that have been handled.
Yes.
That's exactly how they've been handled. And go back to the federal law. If they haven't provided this information to our emergency personnel, how can they say they have a plan?
Can't.
On the existing 17. This is why we need a moratorium. Y'all been put in an awful position. There's already a problem at our doorstep that's in the ground, on the dirt, in this town right now. 17 more coming, and a mountain sitting on their desk waiting for approval. All around the state, that's not just here. We need a moratorium. This is too big for what we got going on right now.
Next thing happened in Lee County with the trash dump, they had to buy all the property around it. So, in case it was to come to, a neighborhood, Is these companies gonna buy the houses back like the trash company did? Market value, they're gonna buy the house.
Or is the county gonna do it?
Was that for the 2030?
I'm talking about a water table. Swale.
This stuff's.
You're talking about if it leaches into the drinking water, it goes into the river. And your neighbors below you.
Got wetlands.
The whole area is surrounded by 8-foot ditches. Maybe more than that, unless they full just about all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
We don't get the drainage, so we sitting there with what crosses the road and goes in our soil and kills our people.
Let's do the right thing. Let's do the right.
So back to county council. Needs to be. Be trying to the people that caused the problem.
You didn't make this problem. You got to solve it.
Go back to county council and have an actual real public hearing. Hear the voices that you work for.
They can follow the ordinances. That's all we're asking. They didn't. You can deny it. Make them follow it. Repeal the existing.
It's all about the dollar, and the dollar's not gonna save a life.
But you can't.
Children, it's gonna be.
It's not gonna keep our farms from being wasteland even.
Do the right thing, please.
We really have, we've heard all these arguments, lots of times about chemicals and stuff. But nobody's presented me any evidence to that effect.
Which is why we're going back to, that's why we're going back to the
I
ordinance.
don't doubt the chemicals are bad for you.
That's not your job.
That's
You're part of the
environmental
planning
protection.
commission.
Our PFAS is also
I
a
understand.
contaminant that exists inside of solar panels. And Sumter is dealing with a PFAS situation that is a forever chemical. There are people who are dying from outside the perimeter of the base because PFAS has leached into the water table.
And was that from solar panels?
That was actually from product, I think jet fuel,
Yeah.
that was disposed of by
That.
by the military Air Force Base. So PFAS exists in other chemicals besides solar panels, but I'm sharing with you that PFOS, PFOS exists inside of solar panels.
Yeah.
They have a toxic characteristic leaching procedure test, TCLP test for that. It's all on EPA, but you have to go and look at EPA.gov. It's there. Please look.
But we have, I promise you we have.
Are you familiar with the test with which I'm referring?
Ma'am, this isn't really a discussion. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
And research that you know the answer to these things.
If your job is to make sure that they follow the ordinances, we brought you proof they did not. And it's not your fault they didn't, but it is your authority to do something about that. It's your responsibility.
I think we need to go back to the council that made this decision and put the burden on
Right.
you folks.
Anyway, again, I really am sorry, but at this point, when they have done everything and checked all these,
What they did. You keep telling
That's
me
what
that.
I'm trying to tell you.
We're giving you the evidence they did not. We're handing it to you.
That says it,
Give us 60 days at least.
right.
To get.
We're handing it to you. If we'd have given it to you sooner, but guess what? If we find stuff, they fill in the blanks in the meantime.
And look, they still could have done that. They could present something right now and haven't. There's people in this room that know the answer to the questions that we're asking, and they're silent.
Got the answer.
This is a very small representation of the citizens that are following it, and they want answers. It's not, you can look at us and send us home mad or whatever, but this is a very small representation. that has grown into a multi-county group that want answers, that are demanding answers from our lawmakers, from our representatives,
Our council.
to why you're breaking the law and we're having to pay for it. To answer this gentleman back here, your taxes are gonna go up. But the solar company gets tax credits. How is that right?
They got them used.
Read your mission statement. It doesn't fit.
Ms. White, I know your family background is farming.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that they would want you to do the right thing with the board. I know several members of the team. And they were good, honest people that if they felt like someone was being done wrong, they'd write. And I really believe that it's in your hands to write what has been done wrong for us.
Just give us the
Here.
time.
There's, in planning, there's this thing called NIMBY, NIMBY, not in my backyard. Everybody wants cheap or relatively inexpensive electricity, but nobody wants these solar panels in their backyard. Everybody likes eating bacon and sausage, but nobody wants hog farms in their backyard.
Being in your back.
Everybody likes chicken, but nobody wants chicken houses in their backyard.
But you know that this really does not help. The solar
And-
panels don't really help us with our electricity.
And-
I mean, we already know.
Right, I grew up on a farm. Been in my family 90 years. When the Interstate 20 came through, it cut right through that farm. We didn't have any choice in that matter either. Now I have to listen to,
But you have a choice now.
listen to cars and
Yeah, you do. They
go by all the time.
It's buy our land.
You know, we didn't.
I just feel like that, looking at you and knowing your family, I think they would tell you the best thing you could do would be send it back where it came from and let them make a proper decision. It has not been made. It has, people can lie to you and put a straight face nowadays and never think. But I truly believe in my heart that you are probably the main one here that could affect sending this back to council and letting us, give us some time to be able to present our case before them and then come back to you.
Allow them to follow the ordinances. Because they have not. We're not saying it has, one man saying they did, when the facts are in front of you, does not look right. So we're begging you to do the right thing and send it back to county council to follow the ordinances. He got it approved. He got it approved through county council by bullying some of them into voting a certain way to get it through the, under the darkness of the process, because no one in the area even knew it was coming till it had been approved. Guys, how would you like that in your family? To your children, your grandchildren? I don't think you'd be happy with it at all. You'd be sitting on this side with us as well. The shadow of night is over for Darlington County. And we need to do what's right. Because you proof it was not followed. And I'll be glad to give you the Planning Commission Act of 1984, state of South Carolina, that says that you have the power to send it back to them. Okay.
Every one of you commissioners sitting up there have the power to do that.
You always have.
It's not about one man's opinion. It's about every one of you. Every one of you have the ability and the power to stop and to do the right thing. Unless you sign the NDA like the rest of them did.
This is the Chapter 29 South Carolina Local Government Comprehensive Planning Enabling Act of 1994. This gives you the power to get it done right. You have the ordinances. And the day of night is going to come out who's been paid in Darlington County to push this through. It will come out.
My understanding that we can make recommendations to county council on certain things, and we have, even in regards to solar farms, we recommended that they require 2 rows of the vegetative buffer rather than just 1. I think we increased the setback from what it was initially, and, you know, we recommended those kind of changes. But
Recommend that
That's
they
a
follow
distraction away from the
ordinances.
laws that are being.
And they
written.
haven't done that.
You can recommend repealing ordinances. Did they ever present it to you before today? Has it ever been before y'all officially?
what's that?
Has the Pit Stop Solar Project ever been before the Public Planning Committee Commission before today? In an official capacity? Never?
No, it's their appeal. Y'all appealed their decisions. That's why we're here today.
Just get it. You're supposed to be part of that process before they get.
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
You're not at the back end, you're at the front end. And we're trying to make sure y'all know the authority you have and for y'all to be able to use it. You're not the back end. You're the front. Time.
Feel like back in.
You said your research,
Look.
in all your research, you knew the
We're
answer
trying
to
to
these
fix
questions,
that.
but you're telling us this is the first time you saw it on official capacity.
We're trying to fix that.
I was provided with all this stuff, which I've gone through, every bit of it.
Trying to fix that for you and for us.
That was great. All we're asking is for time. That you send it back to the council and let us present what we've got to them, see where they're complying and not complying, and to be able to do it right. It's not being done right.
We were not given the opportunity to speak to them about it before they approved it. Because the county official didn't want us to know. It was pushed through in the shadow of night. And they didn't send us the letter that the solar panel company sent to them several months beforehand. They buried it. But we luckily got a copy of it in the Freedom of Information Act. We didn't know until some people got notices or letters in the 1st of November of 25. It was processed completely in the shadow of night by the county official pushing it forward, and executive sessions and everything else to where the general citizenship did not know what was.
Neighbors who rent still don't know.
We have people that don't even know they live on the street still. I stopped at 2 houses on my way in, and neither one of them even had any idea the solar panel farm's coming. They didn't get a letter.
The most vulnerable people in our community don't. They going door to door.
You don't only have a responsibility to the citizen, you have a responsibility to God to do what's right. And that is what's right, is to send it back to the people that processed it without following the ordinances. Each of you have that same responsibility.
It seems to me that the solution to this might be, for the planning commission to make a non-recommendation or recommend that there be a public hearing for the county council.
You have options. That's pretty much what we're listing for. We haven't been given that consideration.
Have there been public hearings in regard to this?
The required public hearings were conducted, yes.
For county council,
The required public hearings were conducted.
no one received a letter saying, no one knew they were done. Let me say that.
Well, the land was supposed to be posted too, is what that.
By county council.
Never a sign put up anywhere.
Not by the planning commission, but by county council. We don't have a copy of that here. And I'll take a chicken farm any day over solar panel, absolutely.
Don't stop this one, you can never stop the next. Doesn't matter what it is. Gotta use your authority.
I think the ordinance may need to be changed or to,
Or followed.
Let's talk about following.
Just follow the ones we have at this moment, which they were not.
In the middle of projects to design to fit projects.
In fact, in our freedom of information, we have it where the county administrator said, well, we're gonna change them because we don't follow them anyway. That's on
Back
record
to-
to
that's
say,
in the minutes.
we have that in the minutes.
In the minutes.
So that proves that they didn't follow. If we table it and we'll bring you the minutes from that meeting,
We'll show you.
show you that he made that statement, that we don't follow them anyway, so we might as well change it.
That's fact.
Yes, he did say that, and it's on record. County council's record.
Got it right, boss.
So why would you trust him now? You're either trustworthy or you're not. Darlington County has got some real issues.
You need a big bottle of Clorox and go pour it on the courthouse.
You don't, you don't.
all right, it's,
Not everybody's bad. There's a
Table it
lot of
and
bad
let's do
people.
it. You know, those 7 landowners can't do anything with that money once you can't spend $1 in hell for doing the wrong thing, but you can make you can save their place for eternity by doing the wrong.
Says in the book of Revelation, Lord, who destroys his world.
And that's what you're doing if you push it forward. Never grow another grain, another piece of food, no food production on this 10,000 acres or this 845 acres will ever grow on that land again. It will be forever destroyed. The government did not follow the ordinances. That's. We'll bring it to you. Just, we can't do it this second, but we'll bring it to you. We'll bring you documents that the county
I mean,
administrator said.
this was the appeal, you understand? This was the appeal. This was the time to present the actual evidence. Is now.
Information
It's
just
in
in there.
Every bit of it's in there in the exhibits. I bet you didn't read all the exhibits at the back, did you?
Yes, sir, I sure did.
Then you've seen the information. You've seen the evidence that they did not follow the ordinances.
So it needs to go back to county council and let us address them, because they didn't let us address it. The county administrator didn't let us address it. He wanted to take out all the ordinances because they didn't follow them anyway. His words.
By
You
the
got it
county's
in black and
ordinances,
white
we're
in
not
the
allowed
minutes.
to ask questions.
He said,
We presented statements and they decided what they were gonna do with it, period.
we will bring you those documents. So you don't have the ones where the county administrator said, we're gonna do away with these ordinances because we don't follow them anyway.
Right.
We've got that in the minutes. Shame on him. Shame on Darlington County for allowing it. For allowing someone to be at the head to do something like that or say something like that. And shame on the solar panel company and the
All right.
7 landowners.
That's enough.
The appropriate time, the recipient of the SAP determination would like an opportunity to speak.
Okay. Okay, that would be now.
Yeah.
Yes. Who's this?
The favor.
Commissioners, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to speak. My name is Megan Stevens, and I'm here on behalf of SAP Solar. What's before you this afternoon is a very narrow question. Did Pit Stop Solar satisfy the application requirements of the county ordinance section 19.4 and 19.6? Staff determined they did. There is no method under the ordinance in which this goes through council. This is a staff determination. Under the ordinance, when a complete application meets every requirement, staff is required to approve it. There is no discretion to deny a compliant application. Pit Stop Solar and the staff followed the ordinance exactly as written. Nothing in the appeal, nothing presented today identifies a single requirement of the applicable ordinance that Pit Stop failed to meet. One of the appeals attempts to frame this as a challenge to a quasi judicial action of the Planning Commission, but that is not what is before you. This is a direct appeal of staff's administrative approval of the application. Pit Stop Solar met every substantive requirement of section 19.4 and every procedural requirement of section 19.6. The record is clear on that point. For these reasons, we respectfully request that you uphold the staff's approval. With me today is my colleague Catherine Ross and Brennan Cohen with Pit Stop Solar. They are available to address any other technical or project specific questions. And anyway, I'll turn it over to Catherine.
Thank you, Commission. As my colleague Ms. Stevens said, Catherine Ross, we are legal counsel to Pit Stop Solar. I would point this commission to section 6.2, and I will just read to you because we do want the record to be clear, understanding there is a lot of concerns, but also I think a lot of confusion. Under 6.2, the development official shall issue no development permit for a subdivision and communication towers under the provisions of this ordinance without the approval of the Darlington County Planning Commission. We are neither a subdivision nor are we a communications tower. The second sentence of 6.2 is the development official shall be authorized to issue a development permit for other developments covered by this ordinance. And then it has including but not limited to in categories. What was before the staff was an application for a development permit for a solar energy system. That is it. It was not about a FELO. It was not about a fee in lieu of tax. That is a different process. The application was submitted in pieces over time, as is common in this county and many counties. At the point that the staff deemed it complete, and it was under 19.4 and 19.6, they held a public hearing as the ordinance requires. They received public comment. The staff then took, I don't have my exact dates, approximately 6 weeks to review the application again in light of the comments made at the public hearing. And the staff determined that every requirement of 19.4 and 19.6, which are the applicable ordinances for a solar energy system, was met. Every provision of the Darlington County ordinance, as has been adopted by County Council, has been met by this project. The staff has determined that appropriately. And what, as Ms. Stevens says, before you tonight is only the narrow issue of whether or not that determination is upheld or not. We again would request that it is upheld because, again, every provision and requirement of the adopted ordinance, which is what the rules of the road are when this application came before you, have been met. And with that, I'm going to briefly turn it over to Mr. McCone. And as Ms. Stevens said, we would be happy to answer questions of the commission.
Good evening. My name is Brendan McCone. I serve as a product development manager for Pit Stop Solar. First, I want to thank county staff for their diligent and considerable time and effort they've dedicated to reviewing this application. I wanted to assure the commission that Pit Stop Solar has been designed and will be constructed in full compliance with all applicable county ordinance requirements. Over the past 2+ years, we have worked extensively to secure all the necessary permits for approval and to collaborate closely with county staff to ensure strict adherence to the ordinance. We have submitted all materials that's required under 19.6 and partner with our engineering consultant to develop a site plan that meets or exceeds standards set forth in section 19.4. And with that, thank you for your time and consideration. And as Catherine said, we'll be available for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, that's what y'all supposed to do, stop this polling.
Sorry.
That's y'all's job, is to stop this type of polling coming into our county.
The only,
But
the
one
only,
landowner, maybe two owners, the landowner that I'm talking about, he just got plenty, he's the only one that's for
the only dog they got in this fight.
it. They don't even live here. They don't even live here.
And sir, if every requirement was upheld, then why don't we have the evidence? Why is it so difficult? We require the evidence. Every requirement was upheld.
And I like to ask them where they get their money from, with it from green energy, from the Biden administration. Well, it's a waste of money. It's a waste of tax money. It's a waste of money.
For the commission,
Where did it
thank
come
you.
from?
The planning commission report could not tell us 2 weeks ago how many panels and what, or the name of the company that was going to be providing the panels to Pit Stop Solar. They did not have that information 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, when we met with them individually. So without that information, that application is not 2.5 weeks ago, still is not complete. And it was approved with it not being complete, which means it should be reversed and go back to county council. But we don't know them. They're not gonna be here next week when our children get sick, our grandchildren get sick.
They made their money and they're gone.
As many of the other solar companies are already gone. The
And
one
they
up in
presented
Hartsville's
no
already
competing
filed
evidence to what we
bankruptcy.
presented. No new evidence to what they're here. The application is not complete. And if that is the narrow scope of what you've been asked to do, we've shown you that within the narrow scope of what you've been asked to do, they have not met the evidence. It's not there.
Black and white in front of them. They can say, they're gonna be gone. You want it, they're not gonna be here a year from now.
What would an incomplete application look like if that's not an incomplete application? What would you be looking for? A blank with nothing in it?
That's what that says.
Would the names of the councilmen be out there to prove it? That gonna be public record?
What's that?
People that approve this. Is it public record?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they.
We would just like the opportunity to go back to them and do it right. If it is not complete,
Well, they said earlier, I think the narrow scope of our determination this afternoon is like he says, whether they,
Them, it's your job to look out for what they want. You're here. Your
I mean,
statement says clearly you're here to protect.
it's our job to make sure all these ordinances.
And do give us the evidence.
For us.
Give us the evidence. That's all we want. It's the evidence that they have complied to everything they say they have complied to, which you still have failed to do. And you have failed to protect us and our county. And that
documents.
is your responsibility.
Their paycheck is something to them. Our children, our grandchildren's lives are something to us.
Our grandparents.
And our grandparents.
Kids don't know what, so what decide if you want to step in or they're over.
They'll do the right thing.
That ain't got nothing to do about grandparents and the parents and all that. It does in our hearts and our minds. But the paper right there, that's the one you about to step in or over.
Do the right thing. Because you clearly see that it is not a completed application. Your staff 2.5 weeks ago told us face to face, they did not know how many solar panels were going to be put on an acre. They didn't have that information. They did not know who the solar panel manufacturer was, what company it was, what country it was coming from. They had no information. They'll find out when the truck drives up to put them on the property. That's not what that application says is required. That's not what the UL listing says is required by your guidelines and your ordinances. So that's not correct. And by the federal law says that as well. Give us the opportunity to bring that to you and you'll see that you need to follow your mission statement and protect us, not follow their paycheck. Or whoever's got a paycheck. I'm not sure exactly who all has. There's definitely been some money under the table.
Any question from any commissioner?
Y'all have a responsibility too. We're citizens. We're telling you.
Is it correct what they're saying in what is required? That, I think that's the question.
And that shows it was not.
The question before us, as I understand it, is whether or not they complied with all these.
They can't because they don't have it on their application.
What about the two members down here? What,
Our ordinance.
have any comment on what's going on?
Be determined.
Both of us have watched you. You seem to be very fair people at the time we've come before. You have any?
All of what's been before us, and they followed the guidelines.
They didn't follow the guidelines. That's what we're trying to tell you.
If you have followed them, then why have we haven't seen the evidence that they have been followed? Come on, it's not that difficult.
Show them the application that's not filled out. Your staff told me and two other people in this room 2.5 weeks ago, they did not know how many solar panels were going to be put on an acre, or the manufacturer, or the company that was making them, or the country it was coming from. They didn't have that information. And that proves it right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for hearing us.
Yes, sir.
My name is Jonathan Wyndham. I live in Darlington. I have a master's degree in plant environmental sciences, so I'm concerned about the environment. I have no doubt that Pit Stop followed all of their ordinances as they claim. I would simply like to point out there are a few clerical errors. I know this is a multifaceted issue, but I'm here obviously for the environmental side of things. As far as the department, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers letter for their construction notification, if you read this letter in the abstract, it claims there is 1.35 acres of wetlands being affected, and then it lists the property tax maps. These property tax maps are incorrect. These numbers, 2 are listed twice, 1 doesn't exist, and 1 is completely incorrect. So when you actually include the correct property tax maps, according to the Darlington County blueprint, you'll see that greater than 1.35 acres of wetlands will be affected by this project. And that's, I believe that may violate Section 7 of the Endangered Species Act. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Again, they did not follow the ordinance. Erroneous information. You won't see these people a year from now, 2 years, and they got their paycheck and they'll be gone. And our families and our lives will be ruined forever. And 10,000 acres of land will be non-sustainable. We'll all have to answer to God on that one. There is going to be a reckoning by everybody.
Anybody? Anything else?
Mr. Wyndham just shows you that that's not possible to be correct by the Corps of Engineers on documents.
Right, the top.
We are going to circuit courts or beyond that.
Okay.
Exactly heard by Judge Moore.
Hopefully he can straighten it out.
No,
You can straighten that now if you want to. You can have.
Do I have a motion?
The people sitting with you can help you straighten this out, folks. And I appreciate what you said.
Have a motion to affirm the planning staff's decision on pit stop solar.
I make a motion to approve the planning staff's approval on pit stop solar.
We beg you not,
Do I have a second?
it's not right. Please, please do what's right. We're begging you. We've given you proof it's not right. Don't be a part of it by shadow of my business.
And if you're on this,
Yeah.
speak later.
So do I have a second to approve?
Please say it's not right. God's gonna know your heart.
Ma'am, please.
You don't have a second, sir.
You don't have a second,
Ma'am. This is,
because they know what's right.
This is a hard decision for you. I really don't. I think you know what.
it really is.
You know what.
And everyone else has to go back because they know what's right.
He knows what's right.
And so do they. They have to answer to God too. Should send it back to county council.
Ma'am. I'm not sure where this leads us exactly. This, their decision is the final word right now.
You're the final word.
To send it,
Apparently you want to push the issue.
you can send it back
I
to.
did, I would second.
You're the final.
Hurting our county.
Don't take
They need to get on the airplane and kids. It'll be all right.
it.
Jerry, can we go into executive session? Can we have an
Back.
executive meeting? An executive meeting with the
Okay.
commissioners?
Yeah. All right.
Do we excuse ourselves or?
Yes, yes. We're gonna have an executive session right quick, which I think the rules allow us to do. Discuss it.
Or you sisters say it. This mind's made up already.
Can I show you something? This is just Freedom of Information Act.
Mhm.
Look at the date, 7/32. This is when we got notified. This one, I have counsel. So this is from.
Yeah, I understand, but I think they have to go through a bunch of hoops. They actually send out a notice.
See, but it's for they are.
Buddy, Commissioner.
And then will you share the conversation that you just had on the record, either before or after the executive session?
That she was just pointing out.
Thank you.
Notice issue.
You know.
Session.
Tell her that, oh, she has to tell.
Sort of keep everybody waiting. This thing's already going a lot longer than normal, or that we would normally have. Do I have a motion in regards to upholding or overruling staff's determination on Pit Stop Solar?
I make a motion to uphold the staff's determination on approving Pit Stop Solar.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ashamed of yourself. You have to go behind in the middle of a motion to go get another motion.
You have no idea what.
You were supposed to be a lawyer. You're supposed to be a lawyer.
I got all
That's what you do.
underhanded. I'm also.
Ma'am?
You're supposed to defend us.
Following the ordinance. Our only determination was whether or not the ordinance was followed.
There's no fire in here. They were not. No fire.
Right, you yet give us the proof.
Did not.
And you have to.
And you had to go fire. Fire. An electric power plant.
He has no shame.
And what happened?
Positively, no shame. And I hope people run against Cody Mitchell. I hope that Jay Lucas, your partner, which there's a conflict of interest right here. And I hope all of Darlington County knows all these facts, because you, sir, are a disgrace. And what you're doing to your people here today is a disgrace. What you have done to take this people out behind closed doors. Wouldn't you pay?
The people in Massachusetts I dealt with told me that they were buying off the state by giving free electricity for the town. We got free power for all the schools.
Better go over.
They're gonna have a
Item
19
staff report.
acre
So staff.
hazardous waste material.
Item 6, any commissioners, Mr. Comment?
In 20 years, I guarantee it. I bet my life on it.
Buddy.
We already have the hazardous waste situation.
Item 17, do I have a motion?
Hill that we can't handle.
So moved. All in favor? Aye. Aye.